Have you ever found yourself, just caught in that daydream, creating something?
Oh, absolutely.
Like a painting or, I don't know, a song, maybe writing something. There's this pull, right, to make something beautiful or maybe insightful.
It's fundamental, I think.
But then there's the sharp turn because the art itself is vital, obviously. But there's that other side, the less glamorous bit.
Making a living from it.
Exactly, actually paying the bills with your art. So today we're doing a deep dive into the business of art. We want to get past the romance, find the strategic bedrock.
Right. How do artists move beyond just, making stuff to actually building a career,
Yeah.
a sustainable one, turning that passion into a real profession?
And we've got two really fascinating sources for this. They're separated by what, almost 4 decades, but they're talking about the same challenge.
Uh-huh. What are they?
So first, there's a modern online course bundle. It's called The Business of Art by Mark McKenna. He's a really successful contemporary oil painter.
Okay, interesting. Modern approach.
Then, we're going to jump back, way back to 1988. There's a publication also called The Business of Art, and it's cataloged by Americans for the Arts, the big national nonprofit.
Ah, Americans for the Arts.
Yeah.
Yes, a foundational resource for sure.
Yeah.
So comparing the now and the then?
That's the plan. Our mission today is to unpack how artists actually navigate the commercial side.
See what's changed, what's maybe stayed the same.
Exactly. What's timeless, what's totally different. Hopefully helping you figure out the essentials for making art a viable career however you create.
Sounds good. Where do we start?
Let's start with Mark McKenna. His story is, it's a great modern example. Making art a full-time, high-earning thing.
Okay. Full-time oil painter, you said.
Yeah. And what really jumped out at me about his background, it wasn't just the talent, it was how deliberate he seems. He got a BFA in illustration and a Bachelor of Science in Art Education.
Oh, interesting. So the education piece is there too.
Right. And he actually taught art, public high school, for 8 years.
Okay, now that's an insight. His journey isn't just about, raw artistic skill. He built this solid foundation. Formal education, sure, but also that practical teaching experience.
And he had mentors too, right?
Yeah, mentions personal mentorship from some big names like Leon Parson, Greg Beecham. So you see someone who didn't just learn to paint. He learned how to learn and maybe how to teach.
Which has to be valuable today.
Incredibly valuable, yeah. That mix of creative skill and sort of pedagogical understanding. That's a powerful combo in the current art market.
It really feels like a strategic path he took. He only went full-time artist May 2018, left his teaching job then.
Wow, so pretty recently.
Yeah, and yet he's averaged a 6-figure income from his art over the last 5 years.
6 figures, okay.
Which, it speaks to the hours he put in, obviously. Thousands of hours on his craft, it says. But clearly it also points to some serious business sense.
And that's what he's teaching, right?
Yeah.
In this online course.
Exactly. The Business of Art 4 course bundle. The source material was a little ambiguous, maybe 5 courses, maybe 4. But the point is the breadth of it.
What does it cover?
It's not just oil painting, it's also art business, Photoshop, and camera basics.
Ah, okay. So practical skills for the modern artist.
That's what it feels like to me. It highlights this shift, To hit that kind of success today, maybe it's not enough just to be good with a brush.
You need the digital side, too.
Yeah. Mastering Photoshop for marketing your work, knowing camera basics to, take good photos of it. It feels like a very hands-on modern toolkit for actually making money.
So what we're seeing here is a contemporary artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Strong traditional training, teaching background, successfully using digital tools, and interestingly, direct education, teaching others to build this high-earning career. It really makes you wonder.
What?
Well, how much of this modern way is totally new versus how much is built on those, timeless ideas artists have always needed?
That's the perfect question to pivot on. Because now we're going back. Back before Photoshop, before Instagram, before online courses were even a thing.
To 1988.
Yeah. What did the business of art look like then?
Okay, so that brings us to Americans for the Arts. Founded way back in 1960. They're a major force. A nonprofit. Nation's leading org for advancing arts and arts ed.
Their mission is pretty broad, right?
Yeah, basically to serve, advance, and lead the whole network. Everyone who cultivates, promotes, supports the arts in America. They've been around doing this work for a long time.
And they have this database, the National Arts Administration and Policy Publications Database. Kind of a mouthful.
Yeah, NAAPD for short, maybe.
Maybe. And in there we find this book, The Business of Art by Lee Evan Kaplan, published December 1988.
Okay. It's the same title.
Right. And the abstract for this book, even from back then, it's really telling. It said that by 1988, income-producing possibilities for serious artists had already expanded dramatically.
Expanded dramatically in 1988, before the internet really took off.
Makes you think, doesn't it? The market was already changing significantly then.
And this book was meant to help artists deal with that.
Exactly. It stressed that mastering the business side was essential because things were shifting tax laws, the gallery scene, the whole marketplace.
So it was trying to give them the tools.
Yeah. It explicitly wanted to share, and I'm quoting here, formulas from successful artists, dealers, and other professionals to help artists actually earn a living. It was like an early handbook for professionalizing your art career.
Okay, so what kind of formulas or topics did it cover? Was it just about selling?
Oh, way more than that. Looking at the table of contents, it's incredibly comprehensive. It starts with planning.
Planning? Like what kind of planning?
Everything from like the artist's way of life, philosophy almost, down to practical stuff, setting up your business, understanding finances, getting ready for taxes, the groundwork.
Okay, makes sense. Foundational. What else?
Then there's a big section on protecting. And this I found really interesting.
Protecting your art, you mean, like copyright?
Copyright, yes, but way beyond that. It talked about trade secrets like protecting your unique process, patent and trademark law, ensuring your artwork, and ensuring the artist's health insurance, presumably.
Right. Artist health is often overlooked.
Yeah. And it even mentions safeguarding health, specifically calling out health hazards for artists, plus navigating financial resources grants, the art endowment programs, art in public places, and grantsmanship, which is basically the skill of writing grants.
Wow. Yeah, thorough. It really frames protection broadly, legal, financial, physical.
Exactly. It shows protecting your work and your livelihood isn't some new idea. It's fundamental.
Okay. Planning, protecting. What about actually getting the art out there?
Yep. Big section on marketing, career development, breaking into the mainstream, how to prepare portfolios, selling under
When it
contract.
tracks. Always important.
And critically, it talks about the integrity of the artist, the dealer, and the gallery, the ethics of the relationships. So even then, marketing was clearly seen as that bridge from just creating to actually having a career.
And did it talk about where you sell?
Yeah.
The ecosystem.
Oh, yeah. The whole exhibiting and buying, selling ecosystem. It looked at dealers in the big art hubs back then, New York, LA, DC, Chicago, Houston.
The traditional gallery system.
Right. But also artists' own spaces, relationships with museums, art advisors, individual collectors, corporate collections, even contemporary art at auction and craft fairs.
So a really detailed map of the 1988 art market landscape. Before digital platforms kind of blew that up.
Totally. It shows a really sophisticated grasp of a multi-layered market, and it wraps up with this broader view of the politics of art, kind of framing it all as the great American art game.
Interesting. So not just the nuts and bolts, but the bigger picture too.
Yeah, the larger forces at play.
So putting it all together, this 1988 book sounds like a real masterclass in, well, comprehensive business thinking for artists of that time. It really hammers home that while the tools, the platforms, they definitely change. The fundamentals. Legal protection, financial planning, understanding the market, navigating relationships, those seem pretty timeless. They were pillars then, they're pillars now.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting, especially for you listening. How do these two things make Fenn? Mark McKenna's very modern, digitally savvy approach and this foundational 1988 text to bring, how do they speak to each other?
Yeah, what's the connection?
What's the core message when you put them side by side?
Well, McKenna's success really showcases the power of the individual artist now, doesn't it? Leveraging direct-to-consumer channels, digital tools.
Totally. He seems to bypass a lot of the traditional gatekeepers mentioned in that 88 book, the big gallery networks, maybe?
Exactly. He's building his own path, and it seems fueled by his ability to teach and share directly. His course bundle art business, Photoshop, camera basics, it puts the emphasis squarely on self-reliance and digital fluency.
Right. Contrast that with the 1988 book. That felt much more about a broader institutional framework.
Yeah, it was about understanding the existing systems, the galleries, museums, corporations, legal structures, even unions. It painted a picture of needing to know how to fit into those structures to succeed.
A bit more structured, maybe slower moving art world back then?
Perhaps. But the core needs, planning, protecting your work, marketing it, selling it, those jump out from both sources. They haven't changed.
No, the what seems constant, but the how.
The how has changed dramatically. Remember that 1988 abstract saying income possibilities had expanded dramatically?
Yeah, even back then.
Well, think how much more expansion we've seen by now. Digital platforms, social media, direct sales online, McKenna's six-figure income in just 5 years. That feels like a direct result of that ongoing massive evolution.
And he's not just selling his art, he's teaching others how to do it, using those modern tools for both making the art and getting it out there.
It's a feedback loop almost.
And we should probably mention Americans for the Arts, the organization behind that '88 book, they're still incredibly relevant.
Oh, absolutely. They're still providing that supportive ecosystem, advocacy, research, networks, training through their ArtsU platform. They promote things like National Shop Local Artists Week.
So they're not just history, they're an active part of today's art economy too.
Definitely. So whether you listening are an aspiring artist, or maybe you're already a creative professional, or maybe you're just curious about how this whole creative economy thing works, understanding both sides seems crucial. You need that individual drive and adaptability, like McKenna shows. But you also need awareness of the broader context, the history, the structures that Americans for the Arts represents.
It really feels like the business of art needs this blend. Personal initiative, yes, but also adaptability and that fundamental knowledge base.
It's a lot to juggle. A multifaceted landscape, like you said.
And always evolving, it seems.
Constantly learning. Always.
So wrapping up this deep dive, we've gone from a very current artist's practical, digital-first approach back to a foundational text from decades ago. And hopefully, it sheds some light on this complex, shifting world of making art into a viable career.
And as this art world keeps evolving so fast, new tech, AI, direct-to-consumer models popping up all the time, maybe here's something to think about. How much of the business of art will always come down to those timeless basics?
The planning, the protecting, the marketing, that core wisdom from '88.
Yeah. How much relies on that versus how much will keep being totally reshaped by new technologies, new platforms? What's that perfect mix?
What's the blend of old wisdom and new tools that artists will need, not just to get by, but to really thrive in the coming decades?
It's a big question. We hope you will think about how your understanding of this dynamic creative economy can help support this amazing, ever-changing artistic landscape.